welcome everybody to, if you've already been here, you heard my welcome, but now we're recording. So welcome to Making New Summer Memories with Hospice Simcoe. My name's Danielle Marshall. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I want to welcome all of you, and especially to Dr. Victoria Northcott, who is a volunteer at Hospice Simcoe, and my coworker Colleen Risk, who is the bereavement coordinator at Hospice Simcoe. Before we begin, just a few things. I want to make a land acknowledgement. So Hospice Simcoe acknowledges that we're situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people, and this includes the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. And we are truly dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture, and we're committed to moving forward in truth and reconciliation with respect to all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. So just a few housekeeping things. At the bottom, there is a chat box so that you can chat with Colleen or myself if you have any questions. There is a Q&A. As Victoria goes along in her PowerPoint, I encourage you to utilize the Q&A as much as you would like. And at the end, we will be sure to answer questions. So Colleen, I'll have you introduce yourself now.
Thanks, Danielle. Okay, so again, my name is Colleen Risk, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm one of the bereavement coordinators with Hospice Simcoe. And part of my role is overseeing the teen part of the children and teens program that we offer. So we offer anticipatory as well as bereavement support for teens that are between the ages of 13 and 18. And thank you again for joining us this evening. And thank you, Dr. Victoria Northcott, for agreeing to speak with everyone.
All right, Victoria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, welcome everybody. I am Victoria Northcott and my pronouns are she and her. And I am so pleased to be here tonight with Danielle and Colleen and all of you. So welcome to our talk together tonight about making new summer memories, and a little bit about me and my work at Hospice has been, I think it's almost my end of my third, going into my fourth year as a volunteer there. And I have volunteered in the capacities of with children, a little bit with teens, and with the Care for Caregivers program. And it has been a true honor to bring my life experiences and education to hospice. It is like the best place ever to do volunteer work. So it's amazing that I get to bring my educational work and my research work and my work and training as a psychotherapist to hospice. And I am so pleased to be with you tonight because, as always, when I'm at hospice, I always am amazed at what actually happens with people is that the learning that happens is between us and amongst us. It's not us, teaching somebody something else. It's everybody learning and growing and sharing and supporting and caring for each other. So it's so beautiful that we get to share this time together tonight because this is your first summer. It's a testy summer for you, likely, those of you who are anticipating the death of a loved one or have actually lost a loved one this summer, and it's going to be tricky, and grief can be difficult, especially in the summer, your first summer. So before we started, I thought I'd pull a couple cards to start just seeing what the universe had to say to us, and it was kind of sweet because I got one for all of us. It said, trustworthy guidance. You've received a wonderful idea as an answer. This idea is real and trustworthy. You can safely move forward with your ideas, knowing that we are with you every step of the way. What a lovely message to get. And the second one was, there's nothing to worry about. You are safe, and this situation is under perfect control. The universe basically has your back and everything is in order. So, there we go. Let me get in there because I'm trying to change it to the next slide, and it's not, there it is, memories. So we're looking at making memories this summer, and as we have likely all experienced it, some memories sneak out of your eyes and run down your cheeks, and the other memories that you have about the anticipation of your loved one dying or person that has already died are a million feelings, 1,000 thoughts, and 100 memories, but one person. So we're here to talk about how this summer is going to look like, what it's going to look like without that person. So let's check in, and Colleen's going to look after this, but choose one or two words to describe how you are arriving with us here today, or how you have been feeling lately. And if you check or click on the Mentee link provided in the chat, we'll see a visual show up in a minute. Hot, somebody says. Okay. Overwhelmed. All right. Okay. I guess I can go to the next slide then. Okay. Oh, I lost. Okay. So we did that. Oh, there we go. Where do we start? So the research shows that there is a very close relationship between how well children do after death to how well the adults in their life are doing. So the research shows that if we look after the parents and the caregivers, this has the most long-lasting effects in their life. So, and the research shows that 1 in 14 children who lose a parent before the age of 18, and that doubles by 25. And this year is a really interesting year because the statistics show that 7,700,000 people are grieving the death of a loved one since the pandemic began January 22nd. So we know that we all need reassurance, and we need to talk, and we need to connect. So let's talk about you, because you are that person that's going to make the difference in this person's life. So we need this wise you that shows up for you to know how to care for yourself this summer, because of that reason that we talked about, and not being judgmental with yourself. We need to look after the emotional you and the acceptance of what the real you is, and the I don't know you, because there's lots of things that you haven't been through before. So just acknowledging that some things you're going to maybe fumble your way through a little bit, and trust that your inner knowledge is there, and that you just might not know what you need to know at the moment. You might need to ask for help. And we need to know that you're going to show up every day for yourself, and trust what you can do for yourself, and cultivate an acceptance of all of those experiences that you are having. So why is self-care so difficult? Because sometimes we avoid when we don't have the skills we think we need. We don't reach out for help. We don't make that phone call. So sometimes it is an avoidance issue, or you might just be tired and you need a little more rest, or you're being flooded with emotions, or your self-worth has gone down the tubes because you've been just so drained with what has gone on in the last while. And maybe, well, particularly in this last while, you may have had a lack of connections with those people that you needed around you, whether it was, you know, if there was a service for your loved one, the connections that you would have normally had during a time of death haven't happened the way they have in the past. So there's an even more desire for being together with those people, and just being flooded with that. And maybe your own personal growth has been put on hold right now because of what has happened. So that makes it difficult. Maybe normally you're someone that's going to work every day or out with your friends. And we know we get great satisfaction and personal growth from those kinds of situations. But when we look at that, we need to look at always like what your wants and what your needs are. So continuously try and ask yourself, what do I need right now in this moment? And what do I feel right now in this moment? And consistently ask yourself that question. because that can help you in trying to decide in ways to engage in self-care. And we all need, and you especially need, some kind of daily self-care that you can be consistent with. Taking that 5-minute break in the morning, or taking a 5-minute break at any point during the day, just to do something kind for yourself, or making a schedule, even though, most summers aren't schedule bound, but this summer, maybe you need a little bit more of a schedule than you've had in the past, just because this is a difficult summer for you. So do it for yourself and take those breaks and tell yourself the truth about what you actually need. Witness what you yourself are doing and what you're thinking. Try and be that person over here looking down on yourself, and witness what you're actually doing as you're going throughout the day sometimes. Take a little moment to do that and try and be in the moment with yourself, just to recharge and go for a walk in nature, whether it's by yourself or with your children. Just 5 minutes can make the world of difference to self-connect and to connect with others and to connect with nature. Because we know that we can't change the past and we can't change the future, but we can certainly try to be in the present, in the moment to moments that we're living with our children and our loved ones day to day. So you can do the simple things. When you get up in the morning, what is it? How do you start your day? It can be as small as making the bed. That's can make a huge game changer for your day. I've done one thing already, or maybe it's you go downstairs and make your coffee and you give yourself 5 minutes of reflecting in a journal, or just reflecting on what happened yesterday, or reflecting on the loved one that you've lost. Maybe you spend 5 minutes meditating. Maybe it's by yourself, a practice that you've had before, or maybe you're trying something new, like a Calm app or something that you can do that by yourself. Maybe you have a yoga practice already and it's time to engage in that yourself again. It doesn't have to be long. It could be 10 minutes, just a morning stretch. And something that many of us as adults give up early in life is our own creativity. Take something back, give yourself that inner child a little bit of play again, and enjoy 5 minutes of creativity, whether it's painting, doodling, coloring, making a mandala, something fun, and dance for 5 minutes. We all can enjoy some good movement, just with some crazy music on, and give yourself a little bit of joy. Just really try to play and look after your physical, social, emotional, mental needs. We all have different ways of doing it, but end the day with something nice for yourself too. Give yourself that little bit of self-care, whether it's a hot bath, a quiet minute reading a book, hiding in the bathroom for 5 minutes at the end of the day. If you need that too, you do what you have to do. So, and then checking in on who is your support network. Have those numbers ready this summer. Know who your support people are, and normalize seeking help for your children as well. When they see you doing that, asking for help or calling a friend or calling a professional, then they know that is you're looking after yourself, and you're reassuring your child that they are not going to have to be the caregiver for you. And what do they need? Because do they need more talks about grief? Explaining what that is. And maybe you've done some already, but maybe this summer is a time to do a little bit more, letting them know that you've got their backs, and whatever comes up, you are going to help them, because we all know grief is complex and the complexities need to be addressed. And that's when we acknowledge that it's complicated, that we can have a little bit deeper conversations with ourselves, with our friends, with our family, and then it helps us explain it better to our children and get some of the tools that we need to deal with the profoundness and the complexities of grief. So what do I need from my friends? And how can I help other people, that are around me? Your closest friend may not be the person that's able to support you at this time. You need a supportive friend is someone who is going to notice what's going on with you, is going to check in with you. They listen to you when maybe you need to make a phone call. Maybe they're calling you all the time. Whatever it is, it's that support that you need, and they're asking you open-ended questions, and they're listening to you. You need listening ears too. And something really important is that they're going to challenge you. A good friend will challenge you if you aren't behaving in healthy ways. You're not eating well, whatever it is that you're doing. Getting some time to yourself, a healthy reminder of someone watching out for you is exactly what you need, because summer can be stressful for you too. So that is hopefully that you know who that person is. And if not, take some time in the next day or two to think about it and ask someone to be your supportive friend and have those numbers ready for yourself. And just be thinking about, while I'm thinking about myself and looking after myself, what am I modeling to my kids? Because as I said, we are their best role model and we are their teachers, and they're looking to you to take time to connect with yourself, take time to pause and be with yourself, take time to enjoy the summer, take time to nurture yourself, to grieve, show those real feelings, your emotions, whatever they are, be curious about them and pause, be with them, and then do something to help yourself. And share those strategies that you're using with to help yourself with your children. If you say, okay, I'm sitting here listening to music for 5-10 minutes, they're going to start doing the same thing, or they're going to rest, or they're going to go read a book. They're listening and watching, and whatever you're doing is modeling. Grieving is taught and it is learned. So you are setting up a huge path of possibility for them. Grief is normal and healthy, and they need to know that they're safe and that they can cry and that crying is healthy, and you can take care of them and deal with all of those emotions, because we can do hard things and we can be both vulnerable and strong for our children at the same time. So let's just take a pause and let's do a big belly breath and put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And if you do this, just be thinking about taking and giving. And this is when you do it for yourself, when you receive, you can give. We have to receive to be able to give. And that's what you're trying to do for yourself and trying to do for your children. And what belly breathing or any meditation breathing does is it's not a fix, but your body recognizes that you're trying to balance it, and your heart synchronizes when your breath, when you're doing that, and it leads your brain to release endorphins, and those chemicals create a calm in your body. So that one breath and that one calm is a small discipline practice. So love the discipline that you're giving yourself. To be disciplined means to teach. The word actually discipline means to teach, and it means get rid of the shoulds. You don't have to do anything that you don't really feel like this summer, but it's good to have good disciplinary practices like making that bed. But if you need to sleep in, do it. You need that self-compassion. That's good discipline too. Discipline for yourself, for loving yourself. And consistency is key. So keep up the trying, make the bed and build on it from there. Make the bed, give yourself your coffee, give yourself that 5 minutes, give yourself that journal time, whatever it is. Routines rule. And for sure, I encourage you to say no to anything you don't want to do this summer that might feel like a should, or a visiting that you don't want to do, or just feels too stressful. Show up for yourself and show up for your kids. Ditch the phone more often than you have in the past. And just say that no and set boundaries for other people, and teach your children that they can say no to other people too. And if people start asking them things that they don't want to answer, they can say, no, I don't want to talk about that right now, and teach them to restate that. That's boundary setting for children, and they need to know how to do that for themselves. Love the fact that you need time, and you need space, and you need good nutrition, and you need to be honest with yourself about what's going on, and you need that discipline and flexibility for loving yourself and teaching your children to love themselves. It's okay to be scared. It's okay not to know the answers. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. But acknowledging that and asking yourself what you need and what you want is telling yourself that you're doing it for yourself. and you're doing it for you. And when you do it for yourself, you can do it for others. That's where we need to begin. And as I before we go into a little bit of summer memories, I just want to end on, it's been super raining a lot this last day. It was amazing last night. I saw like waterfalls in a gutter yesterday were just incredible. But when you think about rain, it's an acronym I want to leave you with in this section here is like R is for recognize what's going on in your life, recognize it. And then A in rain is like allow what is happening. Just allow the experience to be there, let it in, accept it. You can't change it right now, just simply allow it and be in the moment. And then I investigate it with interest and care and curiosity, and then nurture yourself and teach your children to nurture themselves too. Because that's going to get you through making your summer memories. So this is your first summer of anticipating a death or the death of a loved one. And there will be painful moments, but there can also be joy, but we can create optimism about making this summer a really memorable one. We know children will feel different than their friends this summer. And that's what we want to help them through. We know they want to feel excited. We know they'll feel some guilt, but remember, you can help them make some memories. Oh, I'm there all by myself. There's another little, humans make the best memories. Who are you creating memories with and for this summer? Write down 2 or 3 names and click in the chat box below.
I encourage you all to try using the Menti. It's really neat. If you go to the link that's in the chat box that Colleen put in there, the answers will actually come up on the screen. So it's super awesome. There it is again.
Okay. I'll put into. Oh, I put mine in. I hope some go in. Everybody put some in. Nice. Okay.
Anita, I see your question there. So it's in the chat box. So if you just open the chat box, there at the bottom part of your screen, there's a link. So we'll just give it another minute there. So
Sure.
we can try it out. It's kind of new technology to us too, but it's super fun. It's awesome. It makes a really cool little graph there. Chart, not a graph.
Okay.
Oops, just ignore what I put in the chat box there.
Okay.
That was for another project. We're going to continue on.
Okay, sure. There we go. Okay. There we are. One more. So the first thing we're looking at too is creating a plan. So thinking about, here's your summer coming and what have you decided you're going to do? So let's make a plan. What do the children want to do? What new activities will they do? What favorite activities will they revisit? And do you want to create new rituals with them? And only creating new memories because they want to, not because they have to. And this will make them feel empowered. You don't want them feeling guilty if they don't want to create a new ritual, but you just want to know that you can let go of past rituals. If you've gone to Killarney every single year for 5 years and your partner has died in the last year and the kids don't want to go, don't go. That's okay. you can do something else. But if they do want to go because it was a special place and it's going to bring them, special feelings, and they want to be there and they want to be around the memories and they want to be at the same campsite, great. Recipes are a great way, and simple recipe can recreate so many memories. And we all have, someone in our life who has amazing recipes. And I know that for even myself, when my husband lost his mom, with our boys, we started making gnocchi and all her special recipes. And they were the cards that she had with, she didn't really have recipes, but I had down the basic ideas of what ingredients are in there. But some people have really good rituals and recipes that they'd like to share. And I actually included a clip in the resource list. It's really sweet, one to watch when you get some time one day after. It's about a young boy describing what he did in his family, sharing one of the recipes with his other family members. And it was really sweet to listen to it. So if you get a chance on another day, take a few minutes and do that. And thinking about, will there be unknowns this summer? This is really important for kids because, as you know, this summer is going to be different. So what's going to happen in their life physically? Are you going to be going to some camps or other people's houses? And what's going to happen emotionally? Are other people going to be reacting to the anticipation of your loved one's death or the death of your loved one? And what do you think will happen emotionally with your children or with the others? Or what will people's reactions be? Unmet expectations. What are people going to say to your children? And do they know the story of the anticipation of your loved one's death, or the story of how they died and what actually happened? And that can be a conversation. So they're not getting questions from people and they don't even know this full story, or you've given them part, and maybe now that unexpected question is going to throw them for a loop. So we can prepare ahead for that and think about what somebody might be asking your child. And if other situations, like, are they going to be with a camp counselor or a swimming instructor or with new friends? And when they hear that one of their loved ones has died, what can you prepare them with, and what kinds of questions might people ask? And then there are just the total unknowns, and what can they do and what can they say in their own words? And if they don't want to talk, as I mentioned earlier, they just need some words to say that. I really don't feel like talking about that, or they have their own little, beginning, middle, end of story that is something that they have and feel safe, secure with saying in themselves. And the rest, they're going to be prepared for unexpected things, but you can, say, come to me and I can help you with it, or go ask that person for help at camp, or know who their go-tos are and help them prepare for those kinds of situations. Does your child need more information about grief? And we have a wealth of books, if that's a source for you, or there's some great videos online for kids, or just more conversation or more language around it to help them with their feelings. And this is something we're always doing at hospice. Every session we do with kids, it's always, as you may know if you have been there, but they were always checking in with feelings. It's one of the first things we do in a session, just to see where they're at or where they've been all week. And this helps us know what their strengths are this week, or just generally, and what areas of need. And we can prepare them for some of these really hard feelings. Is your child a patient child, or are they an organized child? Are they impulsive? Do they have learning conditions that they need to be met through the summer, or emotional needs that they need? So these are things we can prepare ahead of time for before the summer comes up. And it's been just an incredible year of grief for lots of people, but your child, your person, and you have been through something that's massive. It's not like they didn't get to go to grade 8 grad. That's real. They didn't get to go to grade 12 prom grad, things like that. Those are all situations that many, many people have been through, and they're sad, and that's a grief, but your children have lost. And so have you lost something it's huge. So let's keep that real, and let's keep that pain in the front of our mind about what they might be going through. people may have minimized loss, and people have their own idea of what that means, but it's keeping it real for your child and let them know that this is their grief, and they may be having really strong emotions and they need help with that. They might be acting out. Is this your child's way? So how do we prepare for that? You might need to bring extra things with you this summer. Do they isolate themselves? Is that their norm, or is it something new they might do? They might be seeking more approval than they do, or they may not seek approval at all. So you might see new patterns arise in their life, more emotions. They might become behavioral. And if that is a trait, then that's something else we can prepare for. We help them name it to tame it. And that's what we're always trying to do with our children at hospice. And it's something you can do. With the more vocabulary they have to name those emotions, the better off and more prepared they're going to be to talk about their feelings. They can name them. And for you, naming them, witnessing those behaviors, stating behaviors, and they know that all actions are not acceptable, so that we can help them set some boundaries and explore and brainstorm what might be acceptable for them in certain situations and at home. This is a chart we often use at hospice, and it's just amazing. Like if you ask a child to name emotions, they're going to show up with happy, sad, maybe that's it. But working with them, it's amazing how when I give children 10 sticks, or I'll say pick 5 emotions, it's a teaching process, so that, oh, well, it might be I feel happy and bad. I've had that like sometimes 3 in a row, and it's like, well, let's explore this a little bit more. And this is something you can come back to. This is going to be on YouTube if you want to, take an idea of, I feel quiet, I feel embarrassed, I feel frustrated, disappointed, shy. Some children adults don't express themselves with all these emotions. Sometimes we're just, I feel bad, don't know it, don't name it, feel sad. What about shocked, jealous, tired? It's when we have the vocabulary, it helps all of us. And then when we're having those big feelings, or children are having those big feelings, it's, to stay with them, and talking may not be needed, and often is not needed more than it is needed. Just be there and witness their experience. They just need to know that someone sees them and someone cares about them and that they're safe, and you assure them that you're there and you can handle their big feelings. And their tears. I love this quote. There's sacredness in tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 1,000 tongues, and they are the messages of overwhelming grief, unspeakable love. This has happened to me several times in the past few years, where I hear from teens and children that they want to stay in their room when their big person cries, because they're afraid that you're never going to stop crying, and that you're going to be sad, then they might make you more sad, and they don't want that. But they need reminders that grief has many feelings and many emotions, and everybody has their own way of responding. And also, they need to know that this person might cry, but Auntie Jackie might be the person that gets really quiet and doesn't say anything, just stops talking and is very quiet and isolates. And they're not so sure, but when they understand that everybody deals with it differently and has different emotions, they know that they're all normal, and then they're better able to understand and express and feel more free to express their own emotions. Like anger is often one that we don't deal with very well, because it's difficult to be around angry people sometimes. We get frightened, we don't know how to deal with it, we feel like it's a conflict. But we also know that suppressing any emotion delays any movement forward in their development, and even in our own. Like it gets stuck in your stomach, it gets stuck in your throat, it gets stuck in your leg, and then you end up falling down and hurting your leg. But all emotions stay inside of us, so voicing them is very empowering to all of us, and especially to children. Acknowledge it, talk about it, normalize it, and if we don't find and don't express emotions, they are surely going to find their way out of us. You can even make lists, help children make lists about when they're sad. This was from a 7-year-old, but things you can do when you're sad. I do a sad dance. I kick around a soccer ball. You can help them create a memory box with photos, which is what we did at hospice. You can cry. You can talk to mom or dad or grandma or whomever, your sibling, or you can play with your stuffy. And we give the best stuffies at hospice. I love our little bears, but it's so interesting that every time a child is given one at hospice, it's their new friend, they've named it. And it's just so sweet to see that a child can receive such comfort from something so small, and you might think is insignificant, but it becomes their very best friend and someone that they even might be talking to all the time. And what about angry? You know, sure, this is from a teen. Scream in the forest, play my drums, talk to someone, do some deep breathing exercises like figure 8, write in a journal, or go for a run. All of this information is used to help you and others. And just as a reminder, I've put the link to this article. It's from one of our websites that we use and share with others, but it's a really good article. But just a little reminder that 0 to 2 kids have very limited knowledge about death. 2 to 6, death is reversible. 6 to 12, they know how the body works and what it means to be sick and die, and that death is permanent. And then age 12 to 8, they know that death is universal and permanent. So as I said, the reference is in the back if you want to have a good read for an article. The thing about all development is that we want to acknowledge exactly what their age is, and nurturing hope. Because for all children, hope is security and it gives them safety. And for adolescents, hope is learning about who they are in this world and where they belong in this world. And some of them are really struggling when this happens, when they lose a loved one or are anticipating a loved one, and their world turns upside down for a little while, and they need a little help to understand that we can control some things and we cannot control a lot of things, but reminding them that you can do hard things and I'm here to support you, and taking a moment to just reflect on what has stayed the same in your life, that there is stability and there is some safety, or how they can find those two things. And establishing a small little practice I do with all the kids I work with, and it doesn't take long, but it's just establishing gratitude practices. 3 things a day. It doesn't have to be that hard. It can be, starting with a little jar on your counter at home, and maybe even it's just 1 a day. It's your morning practice when you're having breakfast. Let's take a piece of paper and write down 1 thing we're grateful for. And the development and just helping nurturing hope is making future plans about that trip this summer, or about what we're going to do in the fall, or what September is going to look like, and take time to connect with everybody and instill and give them confidence that life is hopeful and they can connect with all their loved ones. And this helps them to be hopeful. So sticking to routines is a biggie. And if you're already somebody that loves routines, it's even probably more important this summer, because we see this all the time, but have them. It helps everybody. I mean, we know that routines help us with our health. They help us with our sleep. They help us with our stress. They help us with our emotional, social, everything. And at a very bare minimum, I suggest just even keeping your breakfast, lunch, and dinner to a routine, and bedtime routines in place. If you're reading your child a story every night before bed, don't let that go. That's one of the best times that kids start to talk. That's when the stories from the day come up. That's when they need a hug. That's when they start to cry. So you've got to be flexible a little bit about that. But I mentioned phone limits earlier too, and balancing the now with that. So if they're having a meltdown, yeah, you might be changing up the routine. You might be leaving the birthday party. You might be leaving the family social. but knowing that if they've had a bad day, or somebody said something that they didn't like, the 5-to-1 rule I always try and remember is that it takes 5 good things to rub out 1 negative thing that was said to them during the day. So it's you're listening and watching and reminding them that they are good and lots of good things are going on in their life. It's all those relationships with their siblings or their friends might be saying things that they just don't have control over, and they need a reminder that there's lots of positive things going on in their life. And I like to think about the last thing that's going to happen in their day is settle them down with what were 3 good things that happened today. And it's just a way of settling their mind and their body and calming them down. These kind of routines and remembering our people are what makes us stronger and empower us. So how can I do that? You're thinking, what am I actually going to do this summer that's going to make these memories? Can it be a memory garden, remembering your loved one's favorite plants? Or hospice has this amazing painted rock garden where some of the kids have painted them, and adults too, written down sayings or the person's name and putting them in your yard or in the garden. They're really amazing and just need simple rocks. It doesn't take a lot of money or a lot of things that we can't find. Something like framing a piece of their handwriting or upcycling some of their clothing, repurposing their jewelry, framing things. And a really sweet one, which kids love to do, is also just setting a place at their dinner table for your loved one that isn't there, but it just creates a space that they were there. And it's really sweet to think that they are there in spirit with you, because they're still there. They're still in your life. They're still present. So set that place at the dinner table. You don't know what the conversation might be. Turn your memories into stories. Stories are so powerful. Our lives are made up of stories, and that is how we remember our loved ones. Tell all the stories. Ask all your friends and your relatives to tell the story about your loved ones. Turn the whole summer into story. Write the journals, do the art, do the legacy projects at the fireside at night if you're out camping, or at your cottage. Tell the stories and tell the funny stories and the silly stories, and ask people to share about your loved one. This is your child's heritage, and it's what they want to remember. They don't know everything about the lost loved one. Tell them what they might want to know. What did their loved one look like when they were the age of the child you're thinking about tonight? Your child's 10. What was your loved one like at 10? Do you have any photos or stories or anything that they wrote or create? I mean, I've saved all my kids' art. Maybe somebody has all that in a box somewhere too. It might be fun to go through some of those pictures and memories and stories, and make time for doing that this summer. And just memories of helping. Did your loved one help other people? And in what way? If there is a way, and you had a special organization or charity that your loved one loved to donate to or volunteer at, this is something you can also get your child involved in. Can you visit there? Can you go to the food bank? Can you help the homeless? So much research on helping and happiness. There's a whole happiness course at Yale that oh my gosh, I think 8 million people have taken it, and it's free. It's like just connection, support, gratitude, savoring moments in life, exercising, all these, and helping at home. Can they help you garden? Can they help you set the table? Can they help you cook? Small things. It releases oxytocin in your body. It boosts your mood. It counteracts stress. And the higher your oxytocin are, the more you want to help, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. So the helping makes you happy, but a great way to support our children. Excuse me. Writing memories, like I mentioned earlier about journals or letters or notes. But often with children, and I've done this a lot with teens and little ones, you can to write a note that their loved one would have written to them. Excuse me. Write a note to someone who's grieving like them about their experience. This one I did a few times this year, and it was amazing what two young girls, wrote to someone that would be the same age as them, but they told them about the story of their loved one that they lost, and then what advice or suggestions or how they got through. It was something that could have been put in a journal, which is very lovely. That they're so thoughtful. They do have this inner knowledge, compassion, and care for other people. And when they get to help and share those kinds of things in letters, notes, and journals, it's so healing for them as well. You can also write a note they'd like to receive from their loved one, that they'd like to get from that person that they lost. Write a note from their future self to their young self. And then a creative one that I did a little bit this year with children was Blackout Poetry. You can pull some of the old pieces of letters that they have, or journals, or even magazines that you have at home, and blacking out the words except for the ones that they are feeling in the moment. And you can see how fun that is. One of the little girls I worked with out of my own practice is she's grieving, and she cut out the words and made this whole other poem on another piece of paper and drew art all around it. It was just beautiful. It's something they can do, and that whole creative self, that they have time just for themselves. As I mentioned to you earlier, let that inner child out of yourself too, and spend some time creating and playing and meeting all of your physical, social, emotional needs. And here we are here to remember the people who we love and who still belong to our life. Every day, they're with us in one way or another. And this strengthens your own identity. It creates your heritage, their heritage, helps them create a legacy about their loved one, and helps them create some summer memories for themselves and for here you are today because you are a hopeful person, and you're trying to help someone else as well. So you're someone who cares, someone who wants to make a difference and a life better for others. And as I return to how we started out, is taking care of you, yourself, has to come first, and planning your summer and making some beautiful memories with your family. And I hope that some of this has helped you with a few ideas for yourself and for your family. And I look forward to anything that you would like to ask, share, and still knowing that YouTube is going to be up and you can revisit some of the articles that I had there for you. So thank you.
Victoria, someone in the chat said that their research involves using digital storytelling in a grief process. Adolescents in particular seem to respond to that.
So sorry, can you repeat the first part?
So this is an individual in the chat box said, my research involves using digital storytelling in grief processes. Adolescents in particular seem to respond well to that.
Yes, absolutely. Sounds amazing. I would love, and this is what I have found, is that the storytelling, and it's very healing for all of them. And I'd be curious to know, you said adolescents?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, I really feel like when Colleen ran that group with the teens, that also demonstrated itself, because when people got to do a little bit of journaling, a lot more came out. And so digital storytelling, that's pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing it online, that would be amazing, and an amazing resource for other kids to visit, because seeing all of those stories together in one spot, perfect. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, this the same person who said that, Victoria, says that she's at Hospice Georgian Triangle, a PhD candidate at Lakehead. So she'll reach out and share thoughts.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to have a conversation with her. She can contact us, me through hospice, and I'd be very interested in hearing more about it for sure. That sounds amazing. And I mean, nobody's that far apart. So it's, and thanks for sharing that. That's pretty amazing. What great research.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. I encourage you to take a photo of this resource page here. This is really, really great. Thanks, Victoria. Any other comments? Questions?
And actually, if I can just say too, please don't forget that the books that we have at hospice are amazing. So we have book lists if you're interested in getting some literature to read with your kids. And I do want to mention that Danielle and Colleen and a lot of us at hospice put together, like, I don't know how many videos, but at least 10, I say minimum 10 of stories being read with lots of great activities after. They're not posted yet. They're not up on the channel.
There's 14 and some are posted now. Yes.
Okay, awesome. But this is a great resource for you as well, because the books are being read to you. And if you want an hour where your child can be read to and have an activity to do with minimal resources needed, this is also a fabulous resource for people to use. I just can't say how happy I am that we spent the time this winter doing that for everybody. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, great team. Colleen and Danielle always like has great projects for us on the go that are so helpful, supporting folks like yourselves and children. So yeah, we'd love your feedback.
For sure. So I just put Colleen and I's contact information in the chat box, which hopefully you can see. And I do want to apologize for earlier with our little technical difficulties. It was a small error on our end, but we got it all worked out for the next one. So we are having another event, which will be running at the end of August. Colleen and I will be doing a going back to school, taking your kids back to school and getting them adjusted to a new school year. So we'll be sending out information on that. But yeah, any more questions or comments for Victoria before we wrap up? All right, well, you guys all know how to find Colleen and myself now. So if you have any more questions, I know Victoria would be open to answering them. So thank you so much, Victoria, for your time and your expertise and all the time that you give to hospice as well. We're really lucky to have you. I
am so lucky to be with everybody every day I'm there, and all the people that are here today. Thank you, because I returned to the comment earlier of we are all in this together, and it's a beautiful place to be supporting people, and I love working with all of you out there in the community. Thanks so much, Victoria, and thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great night. Okay, bye-bye.